Hello everyone and welcome to this new vlog. I can't even begin to tell you how happy I am to be back and that my leg is healing very well, much faster than I expected, and that my pain levels have subsided to a very manageable level now. I am also very happy to be able to tell you that I am using less and less painkillers now, so there is no doubt that everything is proceeding exactly as it should. Most importantly of all, I would like to extend my deep gratitude to everyone who have been supporting me in this period, especially those of you who were so kind as to donate money to help me cover my extra medical costs for medication, bandages and physical therapy through both PayPal and Patreon. It has been truly helpful for me, and I would have had great difficulties covering all the costs if it weren't for the financial support that I've received. So again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. To everyone who have donated, if you would like me to add you into any games that I play that have nameable characters, please send me an email with a nickname you would like me to use. You can find my email on the About page on my YouTube channel, and I will be happy to do so. Please keep the nicknames family friendly though. So, I thought that I'd tell you what actually happened 3 weeks ago. I was going downstairs from our computer room to get a cup of coffee. I brought with me 2 cups in one hand and a glass that was meant to go into the dishwasher, and I stupidly enough was wearing socks that was partially made with wool. A word of warning here, never wear slippery socks in staircases that have no anti-slide protection, and even in staircases with anti-slide protection, please be extra careful. So while walking down the staircase, about halfway down in a regular 14-step staircase with oak steps, I suddenly slipped and lost my footing, landing on the edge of one of the staircase steps nearly a meter further down on the side of my left thigh. Of course, I managed to land on the exact angle of the staircase step, so the result was inevitably that my femur cracked in 2 large pieces, with a smaller third piece also shattering off. I then proceeded to tumble down the rest of the staircase and landed in a very uncomfortable position at the bottom with my left leg, that was the leg with the broken femur, lying in a kind of a sideways V position with the bottom of my foot touching my right ankle. I was definitely in pain, but my body was in such a state of shock that the pain was really subdued by all the natural processes that happen in our neural system when it has to deal with large shocks. But it's both a mystery and a marvel how the human body works, as I just intuitively knew that something was wrong with my leg and that I absolutely had to keep it as still as possible. Something that I'm very grateful for, because as it turns out, one of the parts of my broken femur was dangerously close to my main artery in the leg with some quite sharp edges. So what happened then is that I yelled very loudly for Arakel to come help me, as he was asleep at the time, and he quickly came running into the living room in a total panic and found me lying there in a heap. He proceeded to call an ambulance, and after about 10 minutes, no less than 4 paramedics showed up. 2 initially, but they quickly called for backup. They asked several questions, none of which I can recall now, and while they were asking those questions, my nervous system and brain was starting to register the pain gradually more and more, to the point where it was becoming too intense for me to handle. So thankfully they gave me some morphine, and that was not a pleasant sensation, because the injection gave me this strange reaction where it felt like I had ants crawling all around everywhere under my skin for a few seconds. But as soon as that reaction passed, at least the sharpest edges of the pain subsided, and that was thankfully something that I was very grateful for. But then the paramedics proceeded to explain to me that they had to straighten out my leg. So they placed this metal splint with something that looked like kind of a bicycle seat between my legs and told me to bite my teeth together and brace myself for the pain. And indeed, that pain was intense. I screamed so loudly that I'm pretty sure that our neighbors could hear it all through the apartment complex house that we live in. But as soon as the leg was straightened out, I felt a lot more at ease, and the paramedics used an inflatable stretcher that they slid underneath me, which held me in a fixed position. After that came the pretty frightening experience of having to be carried down from our apartment, which is in the 3rd story of the building we live in, and there is no elevator. So first they had to take me down a winding staircase with a rather sharp turn, and after that there is an L-shaped staircase. Neither of those is a very pleasant place to be dropped accidentally, especially not when you have a broken leg, so I had no other choice than to just trust that these people would not slip or fall and that they had full control of what they were doing. And thankfully there was no incident. They did know what they were doing and they were in full control all the way down to the ground level. I was then taken to the hospital for immediate x-rays, and those showed that the fracture was pretty serious, and I'm going to overlay the image of the fracture in the video now. So as you can see, that's not a very ideal position for the femur to be in. So after the x-rays was taken, they took me to a room where I could rest, and I was scheduled for surgery the next day. And early morning the next day, the surgeon came in and explained the planned procedure that they were going to do in terms of surgery on me. And she finally told me that, and she said this in a very serious tone, that I'm afraid that you will have some scarring after the surgery, as we do need to open your thigh. And I freely admit that I actually chuckled when she told me that, and responded something along the lines of, I understand, and I'm not really worried about scars right now. I just want my leg to be okay. Thank you very much for explaining that, though. But I should add that aside from that, actually, it's a bit of a funny story there. The surgeon, the assistant surgeon, the paramedics, and all the nurses in the hospital, they were all very, very nice, friendly, and helpful, and I can say that I'm deeply grateful to all of them for everything. I was cared for in a very, very nice way by everyone at the hospital. So, yeah, I'm very glad and grateful that we have a hospital which is very close to where we live. So anyways, when the time for the surgery arrived, I got a nice round trip of the hospital when I was lying in my bed, and I was rolled through the corridors by a very friendly male nurse who took me to the waiting room for general anesthesia. I was pretty anxious when I was lying there waiting for being taken into the room where they would apply the anesthesia, and also the surgery itself was, well, it was slightly terrifying, but the nurse who had brought me there, he sensed that I was anxious, and he was friendly enough to just hang out with me and chat until the doctors were ready, which I was immensely grateful for. And when I finally came into the pre-surgery room where the general anesthesia was to be applied, there was this less than funny doctor who told me that they were going to inject some medication into me that might induce some bad dreams. At that point, I was obviously pretty resigned to the fact that there was no other option than going through with the surgery, but I do remember asking him why he had to tell me that little tidbit of information, whereas he replied, "Oh, no worries, the nurse is injecting another medication now which should counteract that." So, yeah, I do remember that I thought, right, so why did you tell me about the bad dreams thing then? And that's more or less the last thing that I remember before waking up again in the waking room, or whatever that room is called in English, and the surgery was done. Turned out that the surgery took 3 more hours than expected. They initially expected that it would take between 1 and 2 hours, but in fact the entire thing took 5 hours. So it was a long surgery for fixing a broken femur. So sometime after the surgery, and I'm not really certain when this was, it might have been the same evening or the morning after. I was pretty woozy after the general anesthesia, so... But anyways, the surgeon popped in and explained to me what the surgery had entailed. And again, modern medicine is truly a marvel. I remember that I was a bit confused when I woke up because I didn't have a cast around my leg. But as it turns out, what they had done was, first of all, they used 2 threads. I think the procedure is called a cerclage or a circlage. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. In this specific instance, they were using metal wires that they tied around the fractured areas of the bone to keep the pieces in place. And after that, they inserted a titanium beam into the marrow of my bone, all the way down from my hip to the knee. And this beam was fastened with 4 rivets, 2 up at the hip area and 2 down by the knee. And because of this, there was no need for any cast, a fact that I'm deeply grateful for considering how much my skin has been itching these past 3 weeks. I mean, I've got these big scar areas now where I was stitched up, and those areas have been growing, and as we all know, when wounds grow, it usually itches, so yeah. I'm going to display the X-ray image that was taken after the operation now, so that you can see what my femur looks like now, and I will just keep the image of what it looked like before the operation on screen. So there you go. That's what my leg looks like now. You can't see the rivets down by the knee. The X-ray was only the upper part of the femur. So yeah, the first days after the surgery, I was in a great deal of pain. I was given strong painkillers back then, but thankfully it just took me 4 days for the pain to subside to a level where I could be switched over to a much milder painkiller, and I'm still using that today. But it's okay because the pain has subsided to levels that are quite manageable now. Then the surgeon, she instructed me, together with a physiotherapist, that I should not put more than 15 kilograms of weight on the leg for the next 6 weeks, but that I should expect a full recovery. The only thing that they did warn me about is that I could experience some discomfort later in life in my hip area because of wear and tear due to the titanium implant or the rivets. I'm not really sure which one she was referring to. However, if that happens at some point, what she did say was that it's just a matter of removing the implants again. But obviously, I don't see any need to put myself under the knife unless it's absolutely needed. So I will probably just keep the implants there unless it becomes something that annoys me. So that aside, my healing rate has been amazing. I'm already able to fully stand on my leg. I can even walk a few steps without crutches or resistance, and I don't feel any pain when I do so. So I do suspect that I might be able to start training to walk properly again even before these predicted 6 weeks. But I'm going to ask my physiotherapist about this when he visits me tomorrow. The first 2 weeks after the surgery, my leg was so swollen that it was almost double the size of the other leg. All of the swollenness have subsided. My leg is back to its normal circumference, and I have gained a few stretch marks, but that's not a major thing that I'm going to worry about. I'm going to be regaining my full mobility, and a few stretch marks and the scars, not a problem. It's kind of weird to consider the fact that if this had happened maybe 20 or so years ago, I would probably still be in the hospital with a huge cast all around my leg and hip area waiting for the bone to grow naturally. And it's even weirder to consider the fact that if this had happened 60 years ago, I would probably be a cripple for the rest of my life. Just another thought to provide or to prove how grateful I actually am for these medical breakthroughs that the scientists in the medical fields are having for every year that passes. And I can also happily announce that I have been accepted as an initiate into the Adeptus Mechanicus chapter. Praise, of course, be to the Omnicia, or Omnissiah. And I am about 1.6% cyborg, someone had calculated. While this is nice, I should also add that I have no plans of breaking any more bones in my body. I do not have any desire to increase the percentage of cyborgness. And while I may be an initiate to the Adeptus Mechanicus, I don't think the world is ready for a fully fledged Caledorn as a tech priest just yet. Maybe in a few years, though. You never know. So now now you all know a little bit more about what happened. I would also like to tell you, kind of a little announcement here. I have decided that YouTube will no longer just be a hobby. I do plan to make YouTube a full-time job. These 3 weeks have had me thinking about a lot of things, and one of the things that I have realized is how much I have missed making content for you guys during this time. I cannot promise that I will be able to deliver content every single day yet, but Factorio Darkstar will make a reappearance just a few hours after this vlog is published. Catherine Avon and myself, we've already recorded one episode, and it was really nice to get back to recording. As long as my health allows, though, I will try to deliver at least one video per day from now on again. And if I'm not able to deliver a video one day, don't worry. There will be videos as soon as I am able to record. So yeah. So that's basically most of what I had to say. So I would again like to thank you all for subscribing to my channel, and I would like to thank you all for your good wishes, your support, and of course making me know and feel that I have been both valued and missed in this interesting time, I should put it. I do look forward very much to being able to share countless of hours of fun and joy together with you as we delve into sort of a new era on my channel, where providing entertainment through YouTube now will be an even more important part of my life. So thank you all for joining me, and see you all next time.